Our next storyteller has been an actress for over 20 years, but this is the first time she will be a storyteller. Please welcome Isabel Liss.
This story is called Restless. It's morning of a spring day in 1969. I'm lying in bed in the first house I ever lived in Downers Grove, Illinois, which my mother purchased just the year before. I have a room and a bed of my own here, but I'm not there now. As children are wont to do, I have crept across the hall and into my mother's bed sometime in the wee hours. But now it's morning, and the sun is streaming through the window of her room. My mom's gotten up for the day, but I lie there between waking and dreaming, becoming aware of the glorious softness of the sheets and the perfect embrace of the pillows and the blanket around me. For just a moment I bask, feeling the pure, sensual pleasure of this bed, soft with her warmth and mine. No doubt the day will hold other challenges for my painfully shy 8-year-old self, but here, in this bed, for this moment, all is well. For as long as I can remember, it's been my mom and me, she and my father having divorced before I was a year old. And though I see my father on Sundays sometimes, my mom is the one I love, and in whose care I find life's comforts. She's an uncommon woman, though at my tender age I'm perhaps not fully aware of how remarkable it is that she emigrated 9 years prior from Germany, newly married and pregnant with me, and not speaking any English at all, and is now a homeowner. And before this, she's moved us from one apartment to another all over Chicago as she works her way from factory worker to an executive secretary at Harris Bank, taking classes at night to learn English and secretarial skills. From the beginning, she's determined to learn English, so she speaks only this mother tongue to me. She wants to be as fluent as possible. My only memory of her speaking German to me is when she bounces me on her knees and sings, "Hop, hop, hop, Pferdchen lauf Galopp, über Stock und über Steine, aber bricht mir nicht die Beine, immer im Galopp, hop, 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 hop." And then she drops me down between her legs and I giggle with glee. The summer of my 9th year, I go to a girls' camp in Wisconsin. On my own for the first time, some of my shyness begins to drop away. While I'm gone, my mom takes a vacation to Montana with her friend Jane, her first on her own since I was born. In the 2 weeks she's there, she meets Jane's brother, Bob. When she picks me up from camp, she tells me that Bob will be coming to visit us and that, assuming we all get along, they will get married, which they do. And before I am 10, we are moving to Montana. My mom arranges for a sleeper car on the train we take there. As the train speeds through the night, across the Great Plains, toward our new life, I crawl into her bunk and lie next to her. Though I do not know it at the time, it will be the last time we share that comfort for many years. When we get there, my mom sleeps and sleeps, exhausted from the previous 10 years of utter self-sufficiency. Years pass. I'm now in my 40s, and have been living in Chicago since right after college. My mother, now in her 60s and still living in Montana, is clearly not well. She and Bob are living in the house they built and raised their family, which includes my 2 now grown brothers. But it will not be for long. They are going to divorce. I bring my mom to live with us, my husband, our son, and me, in the first house I've ever owned. When she's with us, she inhabits the bed in our guest room much of the time, as she is very unsteady on her feet. We visit several doctors and determine that she has a neurological disease called progressive supranuclear palsy. In the days after the diagnosis, we sit together on the bed in our guest room and talk and cry about what is happening to her. Sometimes we lie on the bed together and I read aloud from Love in the Time of Cholera. In the fall, after 7 months with us, she tells me she is so grateful for what we have done for her. She tells me I am easy to love. She tells me she cannot bear the thought of turning me into her caregiver, and that Chicago is difficult for her. and that she longs to return to Montana. So we make the arrangements, and that is what she does. Once there, she'll move 5 more times in search of the bed in which she can lay, from an assisted living in Kalispell, to a friend's house in Victor, to another assisted living in Missoula, then to a house that my brother arranges to purchase for her, where she has live-in care. Her last move is to a nursing home, which we make, in part, because she is falling out of her bed at night and it is more than the caregivers can handle. I visit at the nursing home as often as I am able, flying from Chicago to Missoula every 3 months or so. After almost a year there, in March, the call comes that she is, as they say, down in bed. That is, about to die. When I arrive, I'm glad to see that she knows that I am there. Soon after, though, she slips into that state in which she is only distantly aware, in a morphine-induced, dreamlike way, of the activity of the room around her. I sit in the chair, one in which she has often slept, while she lies in the bed in which she will die. The hours tick slowly by. Sometime in the late afternoon, the early spring sun fills her room with a soft glow. I look at her laying there, this woman who has all her life been my comfort, and I have the ardent desire to crawl into bed with her, which I do. We lay there together. Once or twice I sing to her softly, but mostly I just lay close to her in this bunk on her train to another country, traveling from densely populated grief across the open plains of waiting and on to the mountains beyond. And the bed I lie in now, that bed is restless.